Studio is Sumita Karir. Now, Sumita, as ties between India and Bangladesh continue to spiral, Yunus administration has now suspended visa services in New Delhi and Agartala and Siliguri. This move comes after protests erupted outside Bangladeshi mission following the barbaric murder of a Hindu worker in Bangladesh. Anti-Hindu violence and anti-India sentiment has been on the rise in Bangladesh following the death of radical leader Osman Hadi. The Indian High Commission is also under threat from radical protesters who have taken to the streets. So situation seems to be really boiling up in Bangladesh, Sumita.
Absolutely. Bangladesh is on the boil for the past couple of days. In fact, not just past couple of days, for over a year, India-Bangladesh ties have been severely strained on the back of these incidents. And just when one thought that it couldn't get worse, well, relations have nosedived once again. Bangladesh is blaming India for the political killings, street violence and unrest in the country. And once a trusted and strategic partner, Bangladesh is now becoming a challenging neighbor. And for India, it is its biggest diplomatic test. The kind of challenges that lie ahead and how will New Delhi navigate these kind of tensions that are emanating, and plus the axis of China, United States and Pakistan, how will that be dealt with? To discuss that and more, I'm now joined by a stellar panel tonight on India Tonight. Robinder Sachdeva is a foreign policy expert. Asif bin Ali is a doctoral fellow, Georgia State University. Also joining along with both of them is Ms. Veena Sekhri, former High Commissioner of India to the Bangladesh. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And Ms. Sekhri, for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now. Ms. Sekhri, I'll come to you first. Even though Mohammed Yunus is supposed to be at the helm of affairs, but given all that's been going on in the country since past many months, whether it's lynchings, murders in broad daylight, the question is just who's in charge?
I think Mohammed Yunus is just not in control. He has always been kind of a front face, a mouthpiece for the Jamaat-e-Islami. It is the Jamaat-e-Islami, the Islamist party, that has been in control since the regime change operation in July, August last year. We know that Mohammed Yunus himself has accepted that this was a regime, was not a spontaneous student uprising. He said it was meticulously designed, and he introduced a mastermind, Mahfouz Alam, who was his own special assistant and a member of Hizb ut-Tahrir. So I think that it is very clear that the regime change operation is focused on bringing the Jamaat-e-Islami to power, since de facto they have been in power since last July, August, but they have not been able to control the situation. All that has happened is mobocracy. The mobs come out on the streets, they surround somebody, whether it's a judge or a professor, that they force that person to resign. Their targets are twofold. One is all the symbols of the Liberation War of 71, Mujibur Rahman's statues and other buildings, and Sheikh Hasina's mosaics and so on. And the second target has been the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Christians, the Sufis, the Ahmadiyas, all the minorities. Since 5th of August last year, the minorities attack has been absolutely ongoing. And in fact, on the 8th of August, when Prime Minister Modi sent his message of felicitation to Mohammed Yunus, he mentioned it because even in those 4 days, so much had happened and it has continued to happen. And I think that the very absolutely last word in barbarism, last word in almost a genocidal attack on Dipu Chandra Das, the worker from Mymensingh who was killed for being a Hindu. It reminds me of the killings in Pahalgam when the tourists were killed because they were Hindus. They were chosen as Hindus to be killed. So this kind of religion-based murder, this is absolutely a genocide. And now you're seeing more and more statements, even by the UN Secretary General and by other leaders from Canada, Australia, UK and others condemning the barbaric killing. Even congressmen in America, Raja Krishnamurthy and others, have spoken strongly about the way in which Dipu Chandra Das was killed and how it really reflects on what is happening in Bangladesh. It's a completely chaotic situation. And I think that now we have to take this further, and it has to be called out as a genocidal killing. I mean, the way in which he has been, the videos are available. That's the thing. There were hundreds of people there, all taking videos and all watching this like a unfolding. I mean,
Absolutely. You can call it as a genocide. My question to you, Mr. Rubinder Sachdeva, is the current the lowest ebb in the India-Bangladesh relationship, according to you?
Oh, without doubt, I think the present is the lowest in India-Bangladesh relations ever since the founding of Bangladesh. That is one. Secondly, there seems absolutely to have been a transformation in Bangladesh over the years. And it's not something which is coming up over the last 1 year. Over a period of time, an anti-India sentiment has been growing in Bangladesh. Also, an anti-Hindu sentiment has been growing. If you were to look at numbers, in 71, I think there were around 14% Hindus in Bangladesh. When Sheikh Hasina came to power, it was around 9%. When Sheikh Hasina was toppled, it was around 7.5 or 8%. So there has been a decline. Of course, it's partly due to migration of Hindus. It's partially due to that more population of, growth of the Muslim elements. Whatsoever it be, if you were to look at the declining trend, there has been over a period of time in Bangladesh. That's one. Secondly, if we were to look and understand Bangladesh as of now, as we are trying to, I would really suggest we should all read the speech that Muhammad Yunus gave at the funeral of Hadi. Okay, in that speech, Yunus is saying, "Oh Hadi, we are here to pledge that we will follow your ideals, we will follow your political outlook, your philosophy, and generations upon generations of Bangladeshis will work on that." Okay, that's the summary of it. Now, what was the political philosophy, ideology of Hadi? It was absolutely anti-India. Okay, maybe let's say not violent, but anti-India. No India, India out, no cultural links with India, blaming India and India's quote-unquote hegemony for all the ills and troubles of democracy in Bangladesh, and therefore holding India responsible for where Bangladesh is now. So if that was the political philosophy of Hadi, and Yunus is pledging that he will work to it and all of Bangladesh will work to it, it does say something. I think we should be noted in world capitals, including from Delhi to Washington, D.C. to London to Tokyo, because the Japanese are also good investors in Bangladesh. So that's what it seems to be, unfortunately, that Bangladesh, the identity, again, which used to be earlier, perhaps, that we are Bangla and then Muslim. It has reversed now. The idea, it seems, that is we are Muslims and then secondary, we are Bangla people.
Right. It's a very important point that you brought up, Mr. Rubinder Sachdeva, essentially about the fact that Muhammad Yunus exhorting countrymen to follow the political philosophy of Hadi, which of course is an extremist philosophy. The big question then is what really happens to the Feb elections that the country has decided to hold. And let me take that point across to Mr. Asif bin Ali. Mr. Asif bin Ali, what do you think is going to happen? Will Bangladesh be able to contest and hold these elections in a free and fair manner? And what do you think is going to be the outcome of these elections?
Thank you so much for inviting me to this show. I think the election is likely to happen and it has to be free and fair. There is no doubt about it, because that is the only way to come out of the current crisis that right now Bangladesh is facing. But having said that, I would also like to point out that please do not over-exaggerate what is happening in Bangladesh, and also do not underplay. Over-exaggeration is when you call genocide, because that is a very loaded term, and underplay is, overlooking, who are the players working on the ground. Now, the biggest victim in Bangladesh right now of the radicals that we are seeing, and which Ms. Bina Sikri is calling genocide as well, it's not only Hindus, but also the Muslims. Because it is, if you look at from the Hindu frame, definitely it tells a lot, because of course there were several incidents happen where several Hindu minorities have been attacked. But also if you look at the numbers, there are Muslim people who have been attacked as well. Now the question is, the radicals, while they are attacking Hindus or Muslims, what are they looking? They are looking based on their convenience. When they think that being Hindu is good to attack, then they go for it. When they look at being a Sufi Muslim is good to be attacked, then they are going for it. When they're looking, okay, this is a Muslim who thinks differently, who thinks more in a liberal terms, secular terms, then they are getting attacked. So the question and the situation cannot be understood just by only using the Hindu frame. Rather, you need to larger the frame. And the frame is that the Bangladeshi citizen is right now the biggest victim of the right-wing politics we are seeing on the ground.
You mentioned that, but the interim government has suggested external involvement in the death of Sharif Osman Hadi, leading to protests outside, all of the Indian mission. So how should India respond to that, if not, put a spotlight on this particular thing? Because,
first of all,
there has been, the Dhaka police themselves had admitted that there is no such evidence to this. What's your take on this, Veena Sikri?
Well, I would like to say,
if you just give me 30 seconds on that, because you just made a comment on my comment.
No, I'd like to point out to Mr. Asif bin Ali that I did not put it in a Hindu frame at all. I said it's the Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, Sufis, and Ahmadiyyas. Now, it is all very well to say that it is the Bangladeshi citizen who is suffering. Of course, he is suffering. But the Bangladeshi citizen does not want to suffer on this count. It is up to the regime, the Mohammed Yunus regime, to control the situation. The point is that the situation is out of control. And the situation is such that there is nobody wanting to control the situation. These are targeted attacks. I'm not taking a Hindu frame at all. In fact, we have always spoken about all the minorities, even when Prime Minister Modi's message mentioned all the minorities, which include the Buddhists, the Christians, the Sufis, and the Ahmadiyyas. The Muslim minorities are suffering equally. It's only Wahhabi Islam which has got a free run in Bangladesh. And I think that the question is that the people of Bangladesh, I think today, after 15 months, have realized that what is going on is incorrect. They are reacting. They're not supporting Mohammed Yunus at all. Elections have to be free and fair, but they also have to be inclusive. How can you have a partial election and hope that it will be accepted by the people? It will not. We know that they are not happy. The Pratham survey of a few days ago said that 70% of Bangladesh people want the Awami League to participate. It doesn't mean that they will be voted for, but they want democratic elections. They want elections where all the parties are present, and then the individual can choose whoever he or she wants to vote for. That's absolutely fine. And I think that's the only way to bring peace and stability to Bangladesh, is to have inclusive and participatory elections which are credible. Otherwise, you're saying, even the term genocide, I have used it carefully, because you cannot blame a person on the basis of religion. In 1971, that is what was happening. That, all the moderates, same like the Sufis and Islam, the people who wanted moderate Islam, the people who were the minorities, including the Buddhists and the Christians and the Hindus, they were all targeted. And in Bangladesh universities, they're studying this for so many decades now, what is happening. So, one has to look at the problem, not only in the context of Bangladesh, but also in the regional context. We are worried because there is insecurity, instability in our region. It affects us.
Absolutely. Absolutely, ma'am. And perhaps we must ask that whether it is the incompetence of the Yunus administration that he's trying to hide with all of these kind of statements that he's been making, and the inadequacy of the government over there to sort of control these attacks. Let me come to you, Mr. Sachdeva. Mr. Sachdeva, Mr. Ali essentially was equating the fact that, both Hindus and Muslims are being attacked. Would you agree with him, given the fact that it's minorities overall, like Ms. Sikri essentially stated, that they are being attacked, and it is the responsibility of the Yunus administration to control those kind of attacks? And second part to my question is, do you think do you think at all that Mohammed Yunus is actually interested in having normalcy return to the country, especially when the country is facing tremendous economic impact on account of Trump's tariffs, and of course there is a lack of jobs and economic instability?
Multiple things. One, I'll say that, there are no equations in things as complex as that. But yes, any killing should be the responsibility of not letting it happen by any government, right? Be it the minorities, be it, Muslims also. And by the way, yes, there is a point, not only a point, Awami League leaders are being killed. They were also burned down. Okay, they are being hounded also. But yes, to the point of minorities is also there. Now, stepping back, I'll come to Yunus in a moment. Unfortunately, in Bangladesh, it seems the cycle which it seems is that when one party comes to power, it hounds the opposition. Khalida Zia, when she was in power in the early 2000s or whatever, she was after Awami League leaders, imprisoning them, even whatsoever, etc. And even there was a grenade attack on Sheikh Hasina. Right. When Sheikh Hasina came to power, she's been paying back in the same coin. The issue with regards to anti-India, other issue is that those who feel oppressed by Awami League rule, which was there, and by the way, during Awami League also, there were no elections in which opposition participated. In the 24, they did not participate. 19 also, they did not participate. Anyway, so Sheikh Hasina definitely was secular. She went after extremist elements, definitely so. But at the same time, she also went after opposition figures in the same trend as Khalida Zia had, to kind of neutralize or eliminate or, sidestep her opponents. Now, the BNP and the others blame India for supporting Sheikh Hasina. They say that the narrative, from what I understand, I'm sharing the narrative, what we understand is that Sheikh Hasina could continue in power and could oppress and rule with a certain iron fist, etc., because she was supported by India. If India had not supported Hasina, she would not have, acted that way. So that's another blame being laid at the doorsteps of India, and that's why the anti-India sentiment is huge, growing, it seems. Now, as to Yunus, before yesterday or a couple of days ago, before the Hadi funeral, I would have thought, okay, Yunus maybe, sure, is angling for a position of power whenever the elections happen. Which party or how he does, etc., I don't know. But after listening to his speech at Hadi's funeral, to me, it seemed that he was looking to carve out a constituency for himself, by championing what Hadi was espousing. Why strongly championing that? So in a way, wanting to maybe, gain affinity from the supporters of Hadi or those segments. So therefore, it seems to me that Yunus is definitely now interested, I do think, that in contesting for power. How would he do that? I don't know, because there are, the BNP is there, maybe they won't have him. The Students' Party, maybe they would have him, not have him, maybe the third party, whatever. It seems to me now that Yunus is interested in being at the helm via an elected process now.
Absolutely. And as you recalibrated, the Sheikh Hasina factor for us and India's support towards that. But let me just get back to lynching of Deepu Chandra Das and attacks on the media outlets as well to Asif bin Ali. Why, according to you, has there been a perceived lack of swift judicial action against, the minorities and the international communities in the country?
See, while a Bangladeshi citizen has been lynched and while the greatest media of the country have been burned down, definitely the failure goes on the shoulder of the government. There is no doubt about it. They are supposed to provide the security. They're supposed to provide, ensure the law and order in the country. Having said that, when we look at these issues and when we frame the entire issue as like minority being attacked, I would like to rethink it in a different way. That basically it's the radical minority who is attacking the majority in Bangladesh. The majority of Bangladesh is aspiring for democracy. They protested during the July and August, which many of my colleagues are saying orchestrated. I wouldn't deny if there were, some other elements, but largely it was a public-driven movement against, as my colleague, Mr. Ravindra Sachdeva rightfully said, that 2014, 2018 and 2024 election were not accepted at all. So all the political tensions that bottled up, busted out 1.5 years ago. And whatever the reactions, the anger and the distractions we are sitting on the ground, now it has been taken down by the radical wings. And because these radical wings have been allowed to grow in the country by overlooking the democratic aspirations of the larger community, we cannot just look at the event or based on the 15 months. We have to look at it at least for last 10 years, from 2014 to 2024. Now, let me give you one single example. Of course, Sheikh Hasina played an interesting role in terms of checking some of the radical elements. But if you look at the rise and overfunding of the madrasa education compared to the school education, it happened after Sheikh Hasina. So now I think it is a time to question that why she did that. The reason is that the previous government, in the name of secularism, was playing with the religious group and the liberal and the secular groups and allowing those spaces to override other. That has led to the situation right now where the minority radical groups
But Mr.
are
Ali, you can't
targeting
really
the
compare
majority
that
of the
period to
country.
what's happening right now in Bangladesh. There are literally killings that are happening. There are lynchings that are happening. And the present
Yes, who are killing
dispensation,
them?
or at
Who
least if
are
it's not a
killing them?
government, it's an
You tell
administration,
me,
interim
people who...
administration,
No, it's not
not
about the
able to
administration
contain
only.
violence. The responsibility is on Muhammad Yunus, who stated that he's going to form a Naya Bangladesh. This is not the definition of Naya Bangladesh, perhaps that he
When
sort
Hasina
of
left, the
enshrined and
police
that he
was
was speaking
destroyed.
about. In fact,
When
Mr.
Hasina left, the
Sachdeva was
police
also
was
mentioning that
destroyed.
he stated
The military
that
was half-driven.
that the country should follow the ideology of Mr. Yadi. Let me come to you, Mr. Sachdeva. Now, the situation, it seems, is not going to get any better. But how can India now handle this crisis, and should minimal engagement be the strategy going forward, at least till elections, to handle the various interests that are at play here, the Pakistan, China, the United States and Bangladesh axis that is at play here? How can India handle its ties with Bangladesh?
Several things, some tactical, some strategic. One, one could look at the example of Maldives, for example. There was a time, a couple of years, when Maldives was very unhappy with India out, but then it turned around. So on the one hand, India should stay the course, balanced middle path. We have to, and we will, as a mature, neighbor. Secondly, yes, looking on a tactical basis, I would say that looking at the current environment in Bangladesh, if the BNP and of course Jamaat and all, they are the ones who seem to be riding the tiger right now. I think India would have already established and must be in discussions with BNP at least. Okay, because BNP has been in power once, and BNP, okay, even though they are anti-India in some ways, but they are not as radical, hopefully, as the others are. And if the elections are held, whichever elections, BNP would perhaps be one important coalition partner or maybe majority, apparently, right? So in that sense, I think we would already be having channels and, discussing with the BNP leaders and any other leaders also of Bangladesh. So that would be, I think, definitely very, very much continuing and emphasizing that our philosophy is...
Rabinder Sachdeva, another thing to factor in is also the deadline for the Ganga and the Teesta. The Ganga Water Treaty also expires in 2026. So can this engagement, when it comes to sharing water, turn into the next tool for radicalization, according to you, if this doesn't, ease out faster than we expect?
You're absolutely right. It could. See, right now the environment in Bangladesh is that they need any issue to turn it into a nationalist issue. Remember the floods which came a few months ago in Bangladesh? They were blaming that India opened the floodgates from the north, right? And which brought so much damage to Bangladesh. So right now, anything can be turned, given the current rhetoric, anti-India. This killing of Hadi, finger pointing at India. Whoever would have done it, the finger is pointing to India. Awami League, apparently it's Awami League people who've done it. Maybe it's internal, this other guy also killed yesterday, I think, of NCP. There is maybe within the people, conflict and killings and lawlessness going on. But everything can be in a conspiratorial manner ascribed to being, orchestrated by India, and thereby giving rise to more and more anti-India rhetoric and nationalism within Bangladesh. So that's something I think we could perhaps look at. Threatening seven sisters of India, Northeast and all. So India has to definitely, beef up its border security, absolutely, like anything on the Northeast. That's one tactical, again, I would say. So there's some tactical things. And furthermore, we could be discussing with countries like Japan, I mentioned, because Japan is one of the big donors in Bangladesh economic development. US, of course, also, but US could have some other views, or US may be very busy some other places. So we have to work with our other partners also to bring some kind of calm to this region, and then time it out.
Absolutely. And there has to be an intent, more importantly, Mr. Rabinder Sachdev. Let me come to you, Mr. Ali. Mr. Ali, if elections were to happen in February, like you stated, and like all the panelists have essentially been stated, that there is a possibility of free and fair elections to happen in the country, will there be then a possibility of diplomatic normalcy? What do you sort of, if you had to crystal ball gaze after February, how do you think ties with India are going to shape up?
Thank you so much. This is a very good question. And because I personally think that after the election, the tension will go down. Because right now, if you see like the three major political parties and their election campaign plan. So the first is BNP, and the BNP's election campaign plan is around good governance and the kind of, the promises that they are making in the health sector, education sector. The second political party, which is Jamaat Islami, the more right-wing group, their election promotional campaign is around more anti-India sentiment. The third group, which is NCP, a newly formed group, their almost all election campaign is around anti-India sentiment. Now, given to the recent survey reports that we are seeing, like last 5 survey reports, at least I can recall in last 6 months, in all those reports, it shows that in absence of Awami League, definitely BNP is going to win over and going to form the government, whereas the Jamaat is going to be the opposition party. Now, by saying so, it doesn't mean that BNP does not endorse certain amount of anti-India sentiment. They do, but they also know that they are going to govern, and at the government-to-government level, they have to act rationally. Likewise from the Indian sections as well. So I think because right now there is no elected government, and the government came out of a mass uprising, there are so many power circles in the different groups. So these power circles has vested interest to work on the anti-India politics, and these power circles also knows that by doing anti-India politics, they would not be able to inflict harm to India, because India is a nuclear power, that we have to understand. What they are doing is they're using this anti-India rhetoric and politics in Bangladesh to target the Bangladeshi citizens in terms of like the liberals and the secularists, those who are calling for more democracy. So once the voting would happen, and once this radical group would know that they do not have mass support among the public, so they would go back to the fringe element that they used to be. And that is the place where I think two countries' relationship could go for a more rational and normalized situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's hope that the elections happen in a free and fair manner. And of course, the outcome of those elections is going to sort of, have an impact on Bangladesh's foreign policy as well, and is going to have a significant bearing on India as well. We just have time for one final question. Mr. Sachdeva, I'll take that question to you. Now, one very important demand from Bangladesh has been the extradition of Ms. Sheikh Hasina. But the extradition cannot happen because she's been given a death penalty, and we can't really be handing over Ms. Hasina to the government or the administration over there. But then at the same time, she cannot continue to be here in India is a view that many foreign policy experts have held. How do you think India should be handling this issue of the extradition of Ms. Sheikh Hasina?
Interesting. I think firstly, there should be no question of us extraditing her, be it on the technicalities or be it whatsoever. She is here, she is here. The issue is that what India could have done was that within the first 24 hours that she landed in India, if we could have enabled her exit to maybe Dubai or London or something like that, that would, I think, have been the right move in some senses, I would think, right? Because her staying here definitely adds to the anti-India and multiple aspects that India is again playing, interfering in Bangladesh. But that would have been only the first 24 hours, in the heat of the moment, helicopter here, there, boom, 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 question. Suddenly she's in Dubai. But now that she's here, I don't think that we would absolutely, because it has many, many aspects. You stand with friends, and once you stand with friends, this will be like countdown under pressure. We will not want to be browbeaten. So there is no question of the extradition. So whatsoever it be, I mean, unfortunately, this will grow. There is also news that her son would be coming down to meet her in Delhi. I think that will add further fuel to the fire. Maybe Hasina's son can still stay in London. In any case, they're talking on phone calls and emails. They could continue that. What's the need for him to be here? Perhaps. But extradition, no.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for this very, very insightful discussion on the relationship between India and Bangladesh. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on ET Now.
Thanks.
Well, moving on, U.S. economy grows 4.3%